Hi there, everyone. I'm Mark Stutman from Folkway Music here in Ontario, Canada. And I snuck in a little early today to get a video shot. It's a rare occurrence these days, working on it. But we have this phenomenally amazing guitar in the store, and it's going to ship out soon, and I had to get this video done before it vanished from my life. This is the 1935 Gibson Jumbo that we listed on our site a few weeks back. It sold instantly. And the Gibson Jumbo is a bit of an elusive guitar. It's a unicorn for many people who haven't had the good fortune to play these or see them or hold them or anything like that. We're fortunate here at Folkway. We've had a good number of these come through over the years. A good number meaning, like, I don't know, I think I've maybe had 12 on my bench over time. And I call myself pretty lucky to have had my hands on that many of this model. There just aren't very many of them made. Nobody knows how many Gibson Jumbos were produced in the very short window of production from 34 into mid 36. And I don't know how many were produced. Not many, but I've seen a lot more pre-war D28s and D18s than I've seen of these. I've seen fewer advanced jumbos and fewer, J200s from before the war than jumbos, but those are also terribly rare instruments. Anyways, a jumbo is very rare. Not too many people have had a good close look at them, so that's what I figured I'd do in this video, is show you what this jumbo is all about. So the jumbo was Gibson's first large Dreadnought sized. It looks tiny if I'm this close to the camera. Large, Dreadnought-sized jumbo, Gibson Jumbo, aka Dreadnought, slope shoulder Dreadnought. It was released in 34. So around the same time that Martin came out with their 14 fret Dreadnoughts a year earlier, Gibson said, okay, we've got to, give people what they want too, so here's our 14 fret Dreadnought. And the body shape was taken from the large body Hawaiian instruments that Gibson was making for a couple years prior to this. They were a failed experiment and strange guitars that didn't sell well, but they had that body shape already drawn up for the Hawaiian guitars. And so it was a very easy switch for them to just put a 14 fret neck on it, change where the sound hole is, adjust the bracing a little bit, and call it a jumbo. So what the jumbo is a spruce and mahogany guitar, and it has unique bracing, unique sound hole, unique body dimensions that all were changed over the years that followed. But the 1934 models, you can tell, are 34 because they have a smaller sunburst and they don't have fingerboard binding. By 35, the sunbursts got bigger, as they did with all Gibson guitars, and they got fingerboard binding. So this is a 1935. It's a local guitar. It came in from the family of the original owner. You can see the Made in USA stamp on the back of the headstock. Those are the very, very minty, perfect Grover G98s on there, clip plates. And you can see this guitar is in ridiculously clean original condition. Like silly, silly, silly clean condition. Almost never used kind of guitar. A little bit used as it's got some capo wear back there. And there is a tiny bit of wear on the frets and fretboard in the first position, so you can maybe see there. But very little wear. It's a super clean guitar. Scary clean is what I like to say. I was tasked with doing the neck reset on this, which, needless to say, was an expensive job and a terrifying job for me. I've taken necks off of, I don't know, a lot of guitars, 4 digits in any case, and a number of long-heeled Gibsons like this Jumbo, like a Nick Lucas. They're always terrifying. Gibsons in general are terrifying. Any Gibson with a pointy, long French heel like this is even more terrifying. So I took my time before I started this job, made sure I was in the right headspace, and took a long time to take it apart. And I'm glad I did. It came apart beautifully. No issues, knock on wood. And if it comes apart cleanly, then the rest is easy peasy. You can put it back together very easily. The guitar is completely original except for this bone saddle. That's the new saddle. that's on the guitar, made to look like an old saddle. And you might notice on this video that the bridge pins, I don't know if you can make it out in this weird lighting, but the bridge pins, there are 3 of one kind and 3 of another kind on there. They're factory original. Basically, Gibson was changing their bridge pin design around the time that this guitar was built. And so it has 3 of the older style white pins that tend to turn a weird kind of shade of green over time, and 3 of the later 30s style cream plastic pins. And they look different today, but I suspect that in 1935 they looked identical, just the plastic was different. The colors were the same, and over 80 years things changed. Anyways, so a jumbo. I guess I should give this guitar a little strum for you in my weird upside down kind of way. I don't want to blow this mic up. It's so much louder than my voice. Some stellar upside down playing for you. Anyways, maybe you can get a sensation that this is a crazy loud guitar, amazing string balance, very fundamentally present and clean and pure, with just a little touch of overtones that come in if you let them. It's a great flat picker, which I'm not going to show you on this video. But it also cleans up really beautifully if you want to attack it lightly. They are built differently than the guitars that followed. Because it was Gibson's first large body guitar, they were not really 100% sure on the dimensions that they should thickness the top and back to, the dimensions of the bridge plate, braces, all that kind of stuff. It was a bit of a crapshoot, and what ended up was the jumbo. Now, most jumbos I've seen, including this one, have tops that are very thin and backs that are quite thin, meaning they are built more like an early 30s guitar. For those of you who have watched these videos, you've heard me talk about those 1933 LOOs that are a bit of a sweet spot in terms of build, in that they have this earlier top and back thickness, but 14 fret neck and later bracing, which gives them this really cool sort of power and overtone mix that is very unique amongst LOOs. That's what's going on with this guitar. So a jumbo is like, I think of it as like a really big 33 LOO, because the top thickness is around 105 thou, plus or minus, it changes everywhere, but the average is about 105 thousandths, whereas a later guitar would be 125, 135, even 145 on Gibson J-35s through the war, or leading up to the war. So a pretty thin top, but to offset that thin dimension, Gibson put 3 tone bars on this guitar. So there's the bridge plate, there's the X brace, and 3 bars underneath the top. And in this case, they're non-scalloped. I've seen jumbos that are scalloped. I've seen jumbos that are non-scalloped. They're all over the map. I don't know why, but this is a non-scalloped 3 tone bar jumbo. And the mahogany back is pretty thin too. It's got Martin style back braces. The lower 2 back braces are kind of low, wide, and rounded. Later guitars, like later J-35s, and earlier guitars, like the LOOs and such, have tall, thin back braces all across the back. So that's going to make the back move differently as well. Like most Gibsons of the era, almost all Gibsons of the era, it has 1 3/4 nut, 2 3/8 bridge spacing, 24 3/4 scale. So that stuff's normal. V neck, pretty hard V. But a few other things are different. The sound hole is smaller. I don't know if you can see that, if it looks smaller to you, but the sound hole, if you measure it, that's useless, forget about it. It's 3 3/4. 3 3/4 inch, whereas a normal sound hole is 4 inches. And then the other, or maybe single biggest difference between this and other later jumbo models is the taper of the body. So this guitar, jumbo, measures about 4.5 here, 4.5 deep here, and at this end, 4 1/4. So there's only 1/4 of an inch of taper in that body from end to end. All right? See that? Keep that image in your mind. Here is a J-35 from a couple years later, I mean. See that body taper? Very different. This is 4 3/4 to 3 3/4. So there's a full inch taper from end pin to heel, which is the norm with a big guitar. You look at most big guitars in the world, there's a 1 inch taper. You can also see the wedge shape of this body. Most vintage guitars have a wedge-shaped body rather than sort of a rounded profile to the back, because they weren't sanded in bowls the way most manufacturers do now. It's a much flatter taper. So I'll show you this again. Here's the J-35. And here's the Jumbo. Super different. I'm not going to attempt to hold them both at the same time. That would be scary. So you just got to remember that. So Jumbo, super wide. Oops. And J-35, wider back here, skinnier over here. And then sound holes, maybe these I can hold together. Perhaps you can see the difference in sound holes. That's the Jumbo. So the sound hole is smaller, but the guitars are otherwise quite similar. Obviously different sunbursts, but from afar it's kind of hard to see the difference. You can see the binding on the fingerboard binding on this one. And then tapers. See, can I do this? So one of the other things that you'll notice on a Jumbo versus J-35, the J-35, no sunburst, no sunburst, no sunburst, cheaper tuners, no binding. It's a cheaper guitar, and that's what Gibson did. The Jumbo was introduced in 34. The height of the Depression was around then. 34, 35 was the height, let's say the low, the depths of the Depression. And Gibson decided to come out with most of their most expensive guitars in 1934. So sort of right thing, wrong time kind of situation for them. And the Jumbo came in at $60 in 1934, and it didn't sell very well. That's why there's so few of them. And so they phased it out, and in 36 they basically redesigned the Jumbo into the J-35. And the J-35 had the same 3-tone bar bracing, but it had a 4-inch sound hole. It had the skinnier sides. It didn't have this sunburst, or this sunburst, or this sunburst going on, or this sunburst. It didn't have the fancy tuners. It didn't have the binding, but it was, aside from all that, the same guitar. So J-35s sound different than Jumbos because of that body, because of the body depth thing. Jumbo. And this is a killer J-35 too. This J-35 is more open sounding than most 3 bars, which is why we have it. So hard. I don't know if this is capturing on the microphone, but let's do it again anyways. Totally different strings. These are Monels and they're dead. So they're different. Some of that is guitar to guitar differences, and also some of it is top thickness differences. This guitar has a 125 thou thick top, whereas the Jumbo had 105, and the deep body. It all adds up to making a guitar sound like it sounds. And of course, there's a big part of it that's just the wood being the wood. What tree this was and what tree the Jumbo was is going to decide on a big part of what the sound is on the guitar. So there are differences due to design differences, and there are differences due to wood differences. Anyways, I think that covers it for the most part. Very cool guitars. This is on our website if you'd like to see it. I can maybe figure out how to put a link in the comments section of this video or something. But it's there with lots of nice photographs and details if you'd like to see more of it or learn more about it too. Anyways, Gibson Jumbo, if you have a chance to play one, do so. It's the big guitar that people that like small guitars love, and it's also the big guitar that people that love Martin and Gibson Dreadnoughts also love. So you'll hear it around bluegrass jams, and you'll hear it around kitchen tables. They're pretty special things. If you get a chance to play one, play one. Anyways, that's it for me for today. Thanks very much for watching. It's been a slice, and we'll talk to you whenever the next time is. All right, take care. Bye-bye.